back to another edition of Tattered Stitch Embroideries. The holidays are coming up and I am thinking of cute little projects to go ahead and give out to all my friends and family, and I wanted to go ahead and start with our cute little book buddy. We've done a few versions of this, and today I have designed one that has the floral bouquet on it that's great to give to friends and family and anyone else that might be on your holiday list. So I've gone ahead and I've hooped my tearaway stabilizer, and I'm going to run out my very first tack down stitch. Okay, now I've laid down my first panel of fabric and I'm going to go ahead and run my tack down stitch. And now that that step is done, we're just going to go ahead and trim away the excess material. Okay, now we're ready for our next step. We're going to put it back into the machine and we're going to stitch out a zigzag stitch that will help to finish off the top of the front portion of this pocket. And now that this is done, the next step is to go ahead and stitch out the placement stitch for the applique portion of this project. Okay, so we've embroidered the placement stitch for the applique portion of the project. I've gone ahead and I've taped down my fabric, and now I'm going to run my tack down. Once that's complete, we're going to go ahead and trim away the excess fabric. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and run the satin stitch of this applique piece. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and run the satin stitch. Once that's complete, we're going to go ahead and get into the main design of this pattern. Okay, so now that our embroidery pattern, the design is done stitching, I'm going to go ahead and run the placement stitch for the back portion of this book buddy. Okay, so I'm done embroidering out the flowers, the bouquet of the pattern, and I've also embroidered out the placement stitch for the back panel. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip my hoop over. Now I've had people ask me, do I need to worry about pre-cutting out the shape to the back of this pattern? And the answer is no, because you have a placement stitch which is going to act as your guide for embroidering out the back panel here. So I'm going to sandwich this back panel up. I have my I've got my fabric and I'm laying it down nice side face down. I'm going to take my ribbon and center it to my hoop. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape that down on either end. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my felt down as well. And I'm going to tape everything in place. So again, we're making a sandwich of fabric, nice side face down, the ribbon, the felt, and then we're going to put it back into the machine and run our final tack down stitch. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to trim away all of our excess fabric. I'm going to start with the felt first. I'm going to trim as closely to the embroidery stitching as possible. And I'm going to keep in mind the ribbon. I don't want to trim any of that away, so I'm going to be careful around the ribbon areas, not to cut into it. Alright, and we have cut everything away. So now we're going to go ahead and run our final tack down stitch. Okay, now that we're done with the final zigzag stitching, I'm just going to go ahead and remove from the hoop. I'm going to tear away all of the stabilizer. I'm going to have a pretty little book buddy. The one thing, once we're done tearing away all the stabilizer, I will finish off this project by adding grommets to the ribbon so that it can be secured around a book. So I have trimmed away a lot of loose little threads that were around the project and some of the excess material. And so this is basically the finished product. What I'm going to do next is I will go ahead and take my ribbons and I will overlap them about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and I'll set a grommet here and I'll set a grommet there, so that when I go to wrap it around my book, depending on the depth of the book, I'll have the appropriate amount of ribbon to wrap around the book. So thanks so much for stopping by today and watching our latest video release.